Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a completely different way of looking at something we all experience, aging. We're going to explore a framework that suggests getting older has way less to do with how many birthdays you've had and a whole lot more to do with something else entirely. So let's just start with this. A pretty provocative question that kind of flips everything we think we know on its head. What if the ticking clock, the passage of time, isn't the real culprit behind aging? What if the cause is something we actually have some influence over? Okay, so to even start answering that, we need to bring in a new idea from the Harmonic Scale Framework. This whole concept takes us way beyond that old school thinking that aging is just your body wearing out, like an old car. Instead, it says there's a totally different kind of economy at play inside of us. All right, let's get into it. The absolute key, the linchpin to this whole theory, is a concept called structural energy. And now, this is not the energy you get from coffee or a good night's sleep. It's something way more fundamental. So, unlike the energy that powers your muscles or your brain, structural energy doesn't actually do anything. Think of it more like the master blueprint, right? It's the underlying force of order that holds your entire system together. It doesn't perform actions, it just defines the rules of the game. What's even possible in the first place? And this is where it gets really interesting. When you see the contrast, it's kind of like the difference between a building's architectural plan, the thing that guarantees the walls stay up and the whole thing is stable, and the electricity running through the wires to power the lights. One defines the very possibility and integrity of the structure. The other just performs tasks within that structure. So, here's the crucial part. This energy is literally the foundation of our stability. And just like money in a bank account, it is a finite resource. You're born with a certain amount, and the very process of living, of existing, requires you to spend it. So what does this actually look like in practice? To really get a feel for this concept, the best place to look is right at the very beginning of life. Because that's where we see structural energy in its most pure, most powerful, and most unified form. A baby's incredible strength isn't really in its muscles. It's in its coherence. When we're born, our entire system is one tightly integrated whole. It's a single unit, not yet broken up and fragmented into all the specialized jobs, routines, and identities that come to define us as adults. And this just perfectly illustrates why that early state is so powerful. It's not about being efficient or performing tasks. It's all about resilience, that amazing ability to bounce back from almost anything, and this massive, wide-open potential to adapt and learn precisely because nothing has been locked into a fixed pattern just yet. But if we all start out with so much of this incredible, coherent energy, where does it all go? Well, the answer is both simple and pretty profound. The process of living, of growing up and becoming a person, actually requires us to spend it. And this is the fundamental trade-off of life, at least according to this framework. Every single skill we pick up, every habit we form, every role we decide to play in life, it takes a piece of that flexible, global energy and converts it into a fixed, local, and specialized structure. And this is exactly how that fragmentation happens in the real world. We trade a chunk of our total coherence for the efficiency of being really good at one skill. We build routines that make life easier, yeah, but also more rigid. We juggle our identity as a parent, an employee, a friend, and each one of these roles costs a little piece of that unified structural budget. So, this brings us to the most important question of all, right? If aging is just the result of spending our structural energy, can we actually do anything about the rate we spend it? Can we become better managers of our own internal economy of stability? The framework suggests the answer is a big yes. And this table kind of shows us how. It connects our everyday choices to specific mechanisms that either protect or break down our structure. Like constant multitasking, that causes something the framework calls phase fragmentation, which just shatters our focus and coherence, and yeah, that accelerates aging. But on the other hand, stable rhythms, deep focus, those things promote phase coherence, preserving our structural integrity and slowing the whole process down. Okay, slowing down the spending is one thing, but what about going backward? Is it possible to get any of this energy back? Can we, refill the account once we've started to draw it down? Well, the framework is pretty clear here. A full reversal back to that initial baby state, that's not really on the table. But something else is. It's called re-centralization. And it's not about trying to add more energy or work harder. It's about a kind of radical simplification, about genuinely letting go of the fragmented parts of your life, those conflicting roles and rigid routines, to allow new, simpler, and more unified order to emerge. So the big takeaway here, the thought I really want to leave you with, is this. Maybe, maybe we've been looking at aging all wrong. Perhaps our focus shouldn't be on the relentless ticking of the clock, but on the coherence and the unity of the moments within it. What if managing the integrity of our own structure is the most important thing we can possibly do?